There are altogether 8 things that activate your super memory. I call this the 8 principles of super memory. And you got to learn this before we go into how to make notes. Now let me represent the word memory by drawing an image of an elephant, because everyone says that elephants have got fantastic memory. So over here, I'm going to draw an elephant to represent memory. Okay, so that's my elephant over there. Now, what do you think is the first principle of memory? What do you think is the first thing that activates your memory power? The answer is visualization. What does this mean? It means that we tend to remember things when we are able to create a picture of it in our mind. See, the brain remembers in pictures. The brain stores information in pictures. Let me give you this example. As you're watching this video right now, I want you to close your eyes. Yeah, close your eyes, don't worry, I won't touch you. Okay, just close your eyes. As you close your eyes, I want you to think of your mother. Okay, you got it? Think of your mother. Okay, now open your eyes. Now let me ask you this question. When you close your eyes and you thought of your mother, did you see a picture of your mother? Or did you see the words, my mother? Okay, I'm sure you saw the picture, right? All of us see that picture because again, our brain stores information in pictures. But the trouble is very often when we study, we are studying words. The brain remembers in pictures, but you're studying words. So it's incompatible. That's why most of the time you don't remember what you're studying. So what's the secret? The secret is to take whatever you're studying and make it into a picture, a visual image, and then it locks in your brain. In the exam, you remember that picture, and from the picture, you write the words. That's exactly what we did previously in the Pareto diagram drawing. Remember that? Great. So let's go back to this. So the first thing is visualization. I'm going to draw an eye to represent this. So whatever you want to remember, you got to create a picture of it in your mind. The second principle that activates your memory is what we call association. And I'm going to draw a couple of chains that are being linked together to represent association. See, we tend to remember things which are associated with each other. Like, have you ever had this experience when you went home and you said, oh my God, where's my wallet? Where's my wallet? And you forgot where your wallet was. The more you thought about it, the more it didn't come up. You couldn't remember where the wallet was. But suddenly you saw a bunch of library books and you said, you know what? Library books. Yeah, I was at a library. At a library, I took out my library card. And my library card was next to my wallet. And oh my God, it's in the library. Has that happened to you before? Yeah? So we tend to remember things by backtracking, by associating back. So whatever you want to remember, you got to associate, you got to link it together. So how do you link stuff together? That's what we're going to learn a lot more on this section of super memory. Let's move on to the next thing. The next principle of memory is outstanding. What does this mean? Our brain tends to remember things which are really outstanding. Again, if something happened to you 15 years ago and you remember it till today, it's because it was outstanding to you. Maybe it was really funny, it was really happy, it was really sad, it was really scary, and it locks in your brain. At the age of 90 years old, you still remember all those stuff, right? So you got to remember things which are outstanding. Now again, the trouble is very often when we study things in school, is it outstanding? Does it slam us in the face? No, it doesn't. It's boring. And when things are boring, it goes opposite of the memory. We don't remember boring stuff. We remember exciting stuff. Now let me give you this crazy example. Let's imagine if one day your teacher came to class and she said, okay class, I want you to remember this maths formula. And she writes a maths formula on the board. And she goes away. And 5 years later, you're asked what that maths formula is. Would you be able to remember? Of course not. Why? Because it's so ordinary, it's so boring, it's not outstanding. But imagine one day, what would happen if your teacher ran into your classroom totally naked, alright, and you got a shock of your life. And while she was naked, she grabbed a pen, put it under her armpit, she started writing that formula and started laughing hysterically and she collapsed on the floor. Now let me ask you this, 30 years later, would you still remember that formula? Absolutely. Why? Because it was outstanding. Now, I'm not saying that when you study, you should get a teacher to take off all your clothes. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is this. There are ways when you can create notes and learning material such that it creates that impact in your mind. Have you ever heard of this person called Plato? You know, Plato was one of the disciples of Socrates, who was a Greek philosopher. And there's a famous story that said this. See, in the past, Greek philosophers, they would have students who followed them. And they'll teach them the facts of life and the theories and philosophies of life. And Plato was very well known for slapping his students across the face. So one day people came up to him and said, Plato, why do you slap your students? And he said, then they'll remember it, right? So what he would do is this, he'll have his student follow him around, and whenever he taught a student something really thought-provoking, something really profound, the students say, wow, and Plato will go, bam, slap them across the face, right? And they remember it for the rest of their life. Now again, I'm not suggesting that you got to slap yourself on the face, but you got to give yourself what we call a metaphorical slap when you learn. to create something which is so outstanding that sticks in your mind. So that's the third thing. Okay, the fourth principle of memory is what we call rhythm. Rhythm activates your memory power. We remember things whenever there's rhythm. Let me give you this example. Many years ago, you remember this rhyme. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S. Go on, sing along. T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Next time, won't you sing with me? Do you still remember that whole string of alphabets? Of course you do. But let me ask you this question. How long ago did you learn that stupid song? You know, for some of you, 15 years ago, 16 years ago. Some of you maybe even 20 years ago. But why do you still remember it? Did you have to revise it every single day? No. But think about it, you are able to memorize about 24 letters in sequence. Why? Because of the power of rhythm. And you may find that's why you can sing along your favorite song. But if you think about it, by singing a song, it's not easy. You are literally remembering something like about 100 words in sequence in a song. But because it's encapsulated into a song, we remember it. But if I were to ask you to remember 100 words in history, by just reading through it, it's going to be really difficult. So in other words, how to use rhythm by learning. You're going to learn a lot more about this in this whole program. The next thing is color. Right? Color is a very powerful principle that activates your memory. In fact, it says that color increases our memory power by potentially by up to 50%. So what does this mean? It means when you make notes, when you memorize stuff, you got to create all kinds of color. The more vibrant the color, the more colorful it is, the more you're going to remember. The next thing is humor. Now, in general, emotions trigger your memory, like I mentioned before, right? When it's something really sad or really funny, you remember it. But in general, funny stuff, I remember a lot better. So when you want to learn, you got to make your stuff really funny, hilarious. So again, how are you going to do that? You may say, well, geography is boring, history is boring. But it's a way to make it fun. In fact, again, later on in the next few sessions, under whole brain notes, in this session, for example, under super memory, you're going to learn how to make anything, no matter how boring, is really fun. And when it's fun, it's humorous, it sticks in your mind. Right? That's why a lot of people remember dirty jokes a lot better than clean jokes, right? Because it's even more humorous. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. The next thing is overview. Or in other words, holism, like I mentioned before. We tend to remember things when we can see the whole picture. When at one glance, we can see how all the points are linked together. So overview is very important. So your notes must have overview. Finally, 5 senses. What does this mean? You see, when we learn stuff, we can use what we call our sense of sight. In other words, we imagine, we see pictures in our mind. Or we can hear sounds. You know, if you close your eyes, you can create some sounds in your mind, right? The next thing is taste. We can imagine we are tasting something. We can imagine we are feeling something. All these are the 5 senses. Now, when you are memorizing things and you just remember the picture of it, it's not as powerful. But if you remember the picture plus the sound, it becomes even more powerful. If you remember the picture plus the sound, plus the smell, plus the taste, it locks it in. Now, do you remember when we first did the 30 words? When I got you to memorize the 30 words in session 1, what did I get you to do? I got you to use your body movement, right? Remember that? I got you to see those pictures in your mind. I got you to shout out the words. By doing that, we actually use more senses. And do you remember in session 1, there was one part where I got you to remember the word fluorine, and I said the flower urines. Ooh, okay. Now, if you actually imagine the taste of the urine, it's disgusting. But you know what? If you remember that, you lock into your brain because you just activated another sense of yours. So there you have it, the 8 principles of memory. Whatever you want to remember in your notes, in your study material. Number 1, you got to have a picture. Number 2, you got to associate, link it together. It's got to be outstanding. It's got to have rhythm. It's got to have colors. It's got to have humor. It's got to show you an overview. And finally, it's got to use all your 5 senses.